Hi everybody, welcome to Hear Us Out. I'm Patrick.
And I'm Paul.
And this time out we're talking about the streaming war that's coming.
We do videos every Tuesday and Thursday. Check out our library, check out the new videos that come out. If you like them, like, subscribe, share, comment down below, do all the YouTube-y kind of things.
That was nice. Streaming wars, what the hell are we talking about? Well, streaming, we're not talking about music streaming, we're not talking about Spotify, any of that stuff. We're talking about TV, movie, entertainment, streaming services. Mm-hmm. We're not going to be covering TV channels that have catch-up services, like Channel 4 over here has Channel 4 On Demand, or if you want to be very Irish about it, there's the RTE player. Hi, all the Irish people. So all that stuff, we're not talking about that. Yeah, we're talking about the big creators, the people who stream TV, movie, but also kind of create their own originals.
Yeah.
So streaming war, Paul, what do we mean?
Yeah, so the streaming war, which is essentially just the big players that we'll mention that are coming up and everything, essentially, what's going to happen with them all coming into the same marketplace with a very limited amount of content out there. We know that they're making more themselves. We know that there is content being made, but eventually that's going to run out for property buying. So it's going to be an interesting war.
Yeah, not everybody can survive this fight. Not everybody wants, I'd say, to even survive this fight once they realize how expensive it, or will want to once they realize how expensive it is. The streaming war, the reason we're probably going to cover this maybe on a monthly basis because there are new developments all the time. We probably don't have to explain to you what the streaming wars are because streaming services have become the future of entertainment. Movies, TV. You have Netflix and the Oscars now, folks. You've got TV shows being created by streaming services as opposed to traditional production houses. The game has changed and now everybody wants in the game.
Yes.
So this episode, we're going to lay out who those big players are.
Yeah.
So who is going to be having this streaming war of which we speak? So the big names, where does it start?
So our big three, we're starting with Netflix. Everybody knows them. Everybody loves them. Probably everybody watching has some kind of subscription to them in some way. Which is, they started off as a DVD rental, postal rental service, sending out your DVDs, getting them back and everything. Patrick actually told me this. I didn't know this. That they got the idea from the platform you're on now, YouTube, to move over to the streaming light.
They were part of the originators of what we're talking about today. So that's way back in like 2007. They weren't the Netflix that we know now then. No. But what they did to get to here is they went through, buying the right things, showing the right things, helping the technology along. We were quite late here in Europe compared to America when it comes to Netflix. But you had things like House of Cards, Stranger Things. You have Netflix originals, things that they were smart enough to buy, I guess. Films that they didn't create themselves, but then they were a Netflix original because they didn't have a distributor in another region. So we got some things here in Europe on Netflix that people in America got through either the cinema or on another TV channel. So Netflix have been very, very clever. And now they're all the way up to working with, Alfonso Cuarón and winning Oscars for Roma and Scorsese.
Yeah, with The Irishman coming out now as well. So they've really pulled out... This streaming where we're setting up as if these are countries arming themselves. And let me tell you, Netflix, as one of the biggest and one of the originals, is really, really...
Their graph goes like that.
Yeah, like Scorsese and The Irishman is really good. They're, as you said, they're originals, they're self-made stuff and also the stuff that they, got there first. Really, really setting the table for them to be in their strong position that they are now.
So the current champ in this particular, the current dominant force, the superpower is Netflix. After that, you have Hulu. A lot of people in Ireland won't be as familiar with Hulu as our American friends. Around the world, some places have Hulu, some places don't. It's not the greatest name in the world for a streaming service in hindsight, but remember, Hulu started off way back with Netflix. They were one of the originators also. They've had a slightly different path and they've never quite been as big or as ambitious. As far as originals, though, themselves, what was the original I took a note of? Because I keep forgetting that Handmaid's Tale is a Hulu original.
Yeah, actually, yeah. I keep forgetting that myself. It was produced and...
Yeah, 'cause, like over here, we all think of things, because we don't necessarily have Hulu, other channels carried it and things like that.
Sky, was it?
Yeah, Sky Atlantic or somebody like that, I think. So Hulu, The Handmaid's Tale, the big deal for the last few years.
Yeah.
Aside from maybe Stranger Things and stuff that Netflix had already done. So Hulu are no small fry, but they're not as big a player.
No, but they were owned by Disney as well, which is an interesting piece just to mention as well.
Yeah, that'll come back up again in a few moments' time, and I think you'll all probably know why. Because Hulu are in a funny position that they're not a superpower, but they may well be a super ally.
Yeah.
In this war. I'm not great with war terminology, so you'll have to help me out. Next on the superpowers list is pretty easy. It is Amazon Prime Video. Now, Amazon Prime Video is also one of the OGs. They've been around for a long time, but in a very different way. They were Amazon Unboxed or whatever originally. Couldn't play full-length movies. Also, like, they've come a long way, and they've only really become a serious factor in the last, number of years.
Yeah.
The Netflix and Hulu definitely had outpaced them by quite a bit.
Oh yeah, very much so. Funny enough, which is Amazon Prime's videos came out in 2006. So like technically it is one of the original kind of streaming services, but it never got itself off the ground. By the time we know it as today, kind of thing, Netflix had already established itself as the keystone kind of like member of this big three.
It's why Netflix was the one to become the byword for streaming. Like they're the shorthand. But funny, when you think about it, Netflix came from DVD rental. Amazon Prime is not the video channel. It's Amazon Prime Video. Amazon Prime is your Amazon Prime membership, and they give you a streaming service for free that is quite massive and is making all sorts of stuff. They've got Carnival Row coming out.
Carnival Row, they've got The Boys as well. They've got which is Good Omens.
Yeah, and in the past they've done well with Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. They took on Jeremy Clarkson and Hammond and May and did the Grand Tour when they stepped in with a big wad of cash. And that was around the time they really started pushing, Amazon Prime to try and be a thing. Throw money at it. It usually works. It kind of has worked for them, but I'm putting them in the big three, but I'm not putting them at the top.
No.
Netflix still is eating their lunch.
Oh yeah, no, they like Amazon Prime's come in a big way, but it isn't like some of their originals is really, really good. I really like the Boys. I really like Good Omens. It's still not there yet, kind of thing, because like even their navigation system is dirt. It's absolute dirt.
See, I don't have Prime, so actually,
it's dirt.
That's not a good review. Saying it's dirt to their navigation system. I'm going to go ahead and give you some customer feedback from a customer. Fix your navigation. It's dirt. Okay, if they're the big three, what's the next wave? Who are the next contenders? Who are the other people that are going to be in a fight like this? You've got CBS All Access. CBS is an American TV channel, for those of you that don't know. And All Access was their online version plus streaming of some of their new stuff. They've approached it a little bit more like a TV channel would. They bought some properties. Star Trek Discovery, funny enough, was one of theirs, which to a lot of people here in Ireland, they'll be like, no, that's on Netflix.
Yeah.
So there you go. That's another one of those jurisdictional things where, because CBS doesn't exist here, it made a lot of sense to just sell it and let Netflix do a distribution here. So it does all get very complicated. There will be allegiances and alliances in this upcoming war, because not all these people are going to survive, but some of them are going to team up.
Yeah.
I think CBS All Access might fit into that mold. I'm not too sure about them. They're going to keep acting like a TV company for quite a long time. I don't see them changing their game.
No, they'll as I said, they're not new people kind of thing onto the block of this, but they haven't kind of like got the traction. Yeah. I don't think they have that team in place with enough experience to know about the streaming markets and everything. So.
And they're going to rely heavily on the Star Trek franchises that they're coming up with, like Star Trek Picard, and keeping Discovery going, and they're doing other stuff, possibly animated. So they're going to have their thing, but I think they're niche. So I don't know what niche is in the war scenario, but they're a small faction. There you go. Up next, really, of the other big waves. So we're into these things that are kind of launching now. Apple TV has existed for a while as a product, as a set-top box, but Apple TV Plus is their push for the big streaming to become like a Netflix.
Yeah.
Now, funny, I'm going to mention someone that's going to come up again in a minute. They went looking for big name people to partner up with, and they offered J.J. Abrams 500 million quid to team up with him, and he said no. And he's going to come up again in a little while, because he said no to them, but you know who didn't? Steven Spielberg. not a bad name to be able to launch your thing and go, do you know who we have working with us? We have Amblin Entertainment. Here's Steven Spielberg to talk us through his series, Amazing Stories, that he's going to be reviving for us. I wonder how much money they gave him.
Yeah, I was going to say, and also an interesting thing, he has badmouthed a lot of other streaming services that are turned up in the Oscars. So I'm wondering what he might say about if Apple TV ever makes it onto the Oscar stage.
Yeah, and it's funny you should mention that, because Apple TV seem to be leaning more towards series. They haven't really announced that much in the way of movies. Is that how they're keeping someone like a good old Stevie on side going, we're not going to be messing in the cinema? So they've got series like Good Morning, the morning show that you may have seen ads for with Jennifer Aniston, Reese Witherspoon, Steve Carell. So big cast. They've got a show called See, S-E-E, with Jason Momoa.
That was the one I was trying to think of. I saw the trailer of that. That looks interesting. I like,
Jason Momoa, you've been typecast officially, though, because I saw 2 minutes of the trailer and I was like, is he Khal Drogo from Thing again? No, he's not. Where's Khaleesi? Is there a dragon in this one? I hope it works out. But so they're throwing money at people to get big names in too. Like big names.
Yeah, no, very much so.
So on to the one that I think is the most interesting, and this brings up our little moment from a little story from a few moments ago.
Yeah.
These people offered J.J. Abrams half of what Apple offered him, and he went with them. And they're called HBO. So that's the Warner Brothers' own property. HBO are launching HBO Max.
Yeah.
Really, really quickly, I'm going to try and go through this because it's awkward. HBO already had 2 online services. One, which is HBO Go, which if you had HBO cable subscription, it was your way of watching it on the go, online. Then you had HBO Now, which was their kind of version of a streaming service.
It was like they're slightly on demand as well.
Yeah. But it doesn't have original content and things like that as much. So now HBO Max, the way it's going to define itself as being their big Netflix competitor, is to throw loads of money in. I'm going to throw out some figures here, Paul. You give me your opinion on it. J.J. Abrams is in at $250 million. So his Bad Robot company is going to work with them.
Yeah, Bad Robot Productions and J.J. Abrams. Yeah, so $250 million. So cool.
What do you think that's going to mean?
Well, that's, yeah. See, my thing is that Netflix getting Scorsese in for Irishman is really, really big. Getting Bad Robot and J.J. Abrams in for HBO is another shot across the bow of everybody.
Yeah, a video about that above. Yeah,
like there. Literally. Which is, there is one more group that we have to talk about, which is, if I have to say, from the shots that rang around the world is coming up as well. But these Netflix and HBO Max were 2 littler shots.
Yeah. And I realistically, I think HBO know what they're doing as far as they were the originators of that cable TV. They've been creating some of the best stuff. They've had Game of Thrones. They've had
Generation Kill, The Wire.
They were the ones that started the golden age of TV.
Before the golden age of TV kicked off.
So before Netflix came along and what everybody remembers, a lot of the really good stuff was coming from HBO. Now they're doing it on a streaming service. Also, it's not just J.J. Abrams that they gave money to. They know how to get eyeballs on their stuff. They're buying a back catalogue. They spent nearly $500,000, like 485 or 465 million on Friends. So that's why Friends is leaving Netflix, because all of it is going to be on HBO Max. But more importantly, they gave almost, or apparently all of, $1 billion for all 12 seasons of The Big Bang Theory. So Big Bang Theory was worth $1 billion.
Yeah.
Because you have it then exclusively, and if people ever want to go and see it, that's where they have to go. That's how this now works. Yeah. Also, they get Kaylee Cuoco on their books because she's going to be a star of one of their their big flagship show. Yeah, so I think it's called The Flight Attendant. I think it might be called. Yeah. So that'll be interesting.
So that's 1.6. That's 1.675 million that they've used so far.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah, 1.675 billion. And do you know how much Netflix apparently spent last year developing stuff? 18 billion.
Yeah.
So it sounds like HBO are just throwing money around. They're just putting bullets in the gun at this stage. Yeah.
They're strategically buying up properties that they know that a large audience wants to watch.
Yeah.
And binge, because they also know that's an important thing as well, the binge watching factor.
And that is what you need, because you need people to pay for your subscription. You need them to feel like they have to use it.
Yeah. Now, the other thing about HBO is they're also linked with BBC. So they'll also get exclusive content of the Doctor Who franchises, which also includes probably Doctor Who, which is the Torchwood sections, the Class, which is another one.
Which I think is really smart, because teaming up with BBC means they're going to have access to a lot of North American distribution for some classic stuff from BBC, like Doctor Who, that people are, that have a cult following and a bit more than that. But when it's on a big service, you could find a resurgence. You could find people talking about Doctor Who again. You know the way every few years it hits a new big wave?
If it becomes easier.
This could open up the door to the last category of people who have never seen or heard of it.
Yeah, which also, once again, takes bullets out of the Netflix gun, because BBC, or they have Doctor Who as well. And more than likely, because they're teaming up with BBC, it's an exclusive right thing.
Yep, so, exactly.
The other one they're doing is His Dark Materials.
His Dark Materials is a co-production between the two of them. So I think it's made by the BBC and distributed by HBO. So that's... everybody's taken their own tack on this so far, so it's really interesting to see they're all going for the same prize, but they're taking very different approaches. And the next is the best approach, I think, to win, and that's be the biggest already.
Yeah, and this is the shot that rang across the world.
Yeah, this is the one that everybody heard. Disney Plus. You may be familiar with Disney from everything. They own everything, and now they're launching a streaming service that will show everything. They make all the Marvel movies, Star Wars movies, other movies, family movies. They're going to now make about 15 different TV shows based on those properties.
Yeah.
They're going in big.
Yeah, so they got Star Wars, Marvel. They've also got a ton of Disney cartoon shows for kids and everything like that. Their catalogue is already going to be filled, and that's even before they... And I don't think they will consider buying other made properties. Yeah. Because they're also getting Fox. So they're going to have a lot of them. They'll have probably some of the X-Men films and stuff like that on it. Whatever they have in the Fox archive that they ended up buying over goes in there too. They have cornered essentially the entertainment industry? Superhero market is big, because HBO has DC, I believe. Yes. Yeah. So and they're doing all right, but Marvel is the biggest name in superhero movies right now, and that's all Disney. Yeah. So if we're looking for a big contender to maybe take Netflix on, as much as we were talking a big game for HBO Max, Disney Plus it's the destroyer coming over the horizon there. It's, what's that coming over the hill? Is it a monster? No, it's Mickey Mouse with a machine gun. Yeah. Which puts us into an interesting position, just so we say. Hulu is also owned by Disney. Yeah. So it's either going to be an ally to... They're either not going to get rid of it and put more of the more mature content, and also that might be where they're placing their buying of other people's properties and stuff, as they've done before on the Hulu channel. Yeah. So as I said, they are already starting with an ally, like HBO is. And Hulu, with its established subscriber base, it's a strategic property. It's just a strategic property for Disney. I don't think they'll be like, we have to grow Hulu. They'll be like, Hulu is very useful to us. It's like an island off the place that you're invading. They're like, glad we have that there. That's where we can stage all our stuff. I'm really trying with this whole war metaphor. I don't think I can keep it up. We'll get better at it as it goes on, kind of thing. I'd like to go with the last one, and the one that prompted this video, because one new big player, NBC Universal, hadn't brought out their streaming service yet. And today they announced they'd have one. And dun dun dun, it's called Peacock. I don't know what I'm doing there. Worst name ever. Congratulations, you're now the big news story of streaming services, and everybody's going, you're calling it Peacock. Why didn't you just... Yeah, you're leaving yourself open to internet ridicule, and it's not going to catch on. Change the name while you still can. See, my thing, I definitely agree that it is a terrible name, but it's so terrible, I'm not going to forget it. That's true, actually. Well, the other things that they're going to try and do to make sure that people care past that feckin' name. And I really am pissed off, because I thought
when they outed what they were going to do, because they were the last big player in the corner, it's like that Simpsons episode. I want to see what the guy who's standing there doing nothing, the guy in the white suit. Well, they've come in with a very silly name, but also a really strange approach, because all they've really announced so far, and it's early days, so there will be more announcements, is that they're going to do some remakes. It looks like they're going to rely on nostalgia. They're doing a Battlestar Galactica remake. Yay, love Battlestar Galactica. So if it's good and they don't ruin anything, that'll be great. They're bringing back Saved by the Bell.
I don't know who asked that for.
Well, it apparently is going to be like Zach and all the gang are going to be adults now, and he's going to be like governor of California. So Saved by the Bell is going to be weird.
Has he somehow passed on his time stop power to his children or something like that, or to another kid?
Yeah, good point. Is he still going to be turning to camera? And also, I'm going to go ahead and assume Screech isn't going to be in this, because I think all of the other actors and principal cast, I think they had relatively good and bad careers, but Screech became famous for a few very dodgy choices and being a bit weird.
Showgirls as well. A woman.
She apparently is coming back. Elizabeth
really?
Berkley.
Yeah.
And I hope she gets a good chance to act well, because Showgirls really damaged her career before it could take off.
Not a great.
Yeah, you have to assume there was a lot of cocaine on that set. I don't know what happened. Other than that, then, what is NBC Peacock? See, what's Peacock, the streaming service, going to bring to the table other than a ridiculous name? We don't know, but they are big enough, and there's enough power in Universal, and there's enough power in the halls of NBC. They have producers like Lorne Michaels from SNL who will be able to produce comedy content and God knows what else.
Yeah.
They have other shows.
Well, they have which goes Parks and Recreation. They have it was 30 Rock them as well.
Yeah.
So they have some good comedy kind of shows already that they can put onto it. And then obviously the minds behind those are probably going to be jumping on board as well to make even more content and stuff. So NBC could be choosing to be the comedy side of the war kind of thing. They could be slicing off a market.
Yeah, and you know what? It's thinking about it like that. If they are going to try and slice off their own little corner of the market, that might be the best way to survive this. Because otherwise they're going to have to come out with a hell of a lot bigger guns than Saved by the Bell and Battlestar Galactica reboot. As much as I want to see it, it's a dangerous game. I would have thought you would have had a bigger opening salvo.
Yeah.
See, I'm really getting into this war stuff.
You get into it a little bit more. Yeah. The reason we're talking about these is, and we will be in coming episodes of this, is just, as we said, it is the HD DVD versus Blu-ray time Ferrari thing, or the beta versus VHS kind of thing. But it's an interesting one because it's not an either or.
No.
So you can buy a couple of these. The reason that it's going to be a war is because properties, the original properties, and then the properties that are already out there that have been done, these are the things that are going to be
and the talent to make those properties. So you have people basically buying up J.J. Abrams for a while. You have people, these entities are signing on entire production companies. So there's going to be a sucking up of all the different talent. It's going to get dangerous. And on that note, I think, Paul, I want to ask you two things. Who do you think is in the lead now?
Netflix.
Who do you think is going to be in the lead this time next year?
Netflix.
Cool. Because I would answer the same, but I think
Disney's going to make it some damage.
I think Disney are going to change the game. I really think. But my dark horse, to the one to come out on top, really is HBO Max. If they get content right, all you need is Game of Thrones. All you need is the big one. Look at what Handmaid's Tale did for Hulu. One last service, and as part of our sign-off, I want to mention another little streaming service, YouTube.
Yeah.
The one that you're watching right now, the greatest one of all as far as I'm concerned. They have their own originals, they have all that good stuff. They have people like us. They have all the other stuff that you probably watched before and after us. YouTube have done an awful lot, and I don't think any of these streaming services are ever going to stop and thank them. So I will. Yeah. Thanks, YouTube.
I also don't think that they're a YouTuber are going to be damaged in any way of this war. So
no,
YouTube, we're safe.
YouTube built the planet. Everybody else is just living on it. Yeah, YouTube are a completely different league, and I hope they stay that way.
Yeah,
YouTube, please don't try and become a proper streaming service in that way.
So using some of their features right now. Comment down below what services you think are going to survive this war well. Which ones do you have right now and which ones do you plan to get in the future?
Would love to hear your comments down below. I don't know how this is going to turn out. Paul doesn't know how this is going to turn out. But we're going to try and come back every now and again, probably monthly, and give you an update. Because there's an awful lot of new news all the time.
Yeah.
On that note, I've been Patrick.
And I've been Paul.
And we've been Hear Us Out. Stream us.
Yeah.
All the time.
All the time.